Mockery from the stars. The sky over Earth dimmed, not from clouds or nightfall, but from the shadow of ships, massive, obsidian-black structures that moved in perfect formation. They hovered above continents, silent yet screaming superiority. The Galactic Empire had arrived. In Geneva, the emergency meeting of the United Nations Security Council was already devolving into chaos. Delegates shouted over each other, flipping through data feeds, satellite reports, and orbital schematics. The room's reinforced walls couldn't block out the tension that thickened the air like a fog of dread. Then the lights dimmed. A shimmering blue projection emerged from the central hollow emitter. The figure that appeared was tall, humanoid, but undeniably alien. His skin shimmered like mercury, his golden robes draped over a lean, elongated form. Behind him, an imperial crest pulsed in time with a faint, synthesized chant. "I am Overlord Cornix," the projection said, his voice melodic and contemptuous. "Sovereign executor of the Galactic Empire's expansion front. We greet you, Earth, on the eve of your surrender." The room fell silent. "You have been observed. An assessment of your military capabilities has been made," Cornix continued, waving an elegant hand dismissively. "And we are amused. Artillery? Kinetic weapons? Gunpowder?" He actually chuckled. "Your armies cling to relics while others wield stars. You are a fossil with delusions of relevance." A few diplomats bristled. General Elena Briggs, sitting silently in the rear, didn't move. She simply leaned forward, her aged face unreadable, her fingers drumming slowly against a worn leather notebook. Cornix paused, then added, "Nevertheless, in accordance with Empire Conquest Protocol 9B, you are offered the terms of peaceful assimilation. Lay down your arms. Accept planetary governance restructuring, or be made an example." With that, the projection vanished. The lights returned. No one spoke for a moment, until the German defense minister slammed his fist on the table. "This is extortion." "No, it's a demonstration," muttered someone from the Chinese delegation. General Briggs finally stood. The woman was nearly 70, white hair pulled back in a tight bun, her posture still as rigid as the day she graduated from West Point. "We're not going to outgun them in orbit," she said bluntly. "Their fleet's too large, their weapons too advanced." They didn't lie about that. "So you agree with surrender?" asked the French ambassador. Briggs snorted. "I agree we can't win a space war their way. But they've made one mistake." "And what would that be?" "They think artillery's a joke." A few heads turned. She continued, "They've never fought a war where terrain matters, where an enemy can hide their gun in a mountain or under a glacier and still lob a shell that can punch through steel at hypersonic speed. They don't get it because they never had to." "You mean tanks and mortars?" someone scoffed. "That's obsolete." "No," Briggs replied calmly. "I'm talking about the THOR prototype. Project Thunder Horizon Orbital Railgun. It was shelved in 2049, buried in Kazakhstan. Self-contained, AI-guided, magnetically augmented recoil. And if it's still operable, we might have a chance." The room went quiet again. A young analyst from DARPA scrolled furiously through declassified archives. "Found it. Project THOR. One prototype, functional field test only. Firing solution, 203mm smart shells with orbital velocity, capable of striking targets in low Earth orbit with kinetic payloads." "Why was it shut down?" someone asked. "Too expensive. No more space threats. And people preferred orbital missiles." Briggs gave a dry smile. "Well, it's a good day to be old-fashioned." Hours later, Briggs stood in the war room at Cheyenne Mountain, watching the Empire's ships as they floated like gods above the planet. The first casualties had already come in, 3 satellites, blown to shards by precision plasma bursts. No human retaliation. No response. The Empire didn't even send ground troops. They didn't need to. They thought Earth was already conquered. She turned to a junior officer. "Give me a transport and assemble a recovery team. We're going to Kazakhstan." The officer blinked. "Ma'am, we're going to dig up a cannon." She paused before adding, "And then we're going to shoot a hole through their damn fleet." In orbit, aboard the flagship Imperious Flame, Overlord Cornix reclined on a gravity-neutral throne. Beside him, his adjutant displayed early surveillance of Earth's scattered military preparations. Cornix dismissed them with a flick of his fingers. Primitive squabbles, he mused. They still believe wars are won on the ground. He raised a glass of synthesized nectar. To education through fire. Far below, buried in cold Kazakh soil, lay a forgotten beast of steel, silent, sleeping, and soon to awaken. Digging up humanity's hammer. The frozen plains of Kazakhstan stretched into the horizon, barren and lifeless under a silver sky. But deep beneath that cold silence, something slept. General Elena Briggs stepped out of the VTOL transport, her boots crunching against the icy ground. Wind swept across the plateau like a whisper, carrying nothing but ghosts of the Cold War. Her breath formed small clouds as she surveyed the landscape. In front of her was an old concrete bunker, half buried, long since sealed shut with rusted steel plates and forgotten by the world. But not by her. Behind her, a team of engineers, soldiers, and AI specialists began unloading equipment. Drones took flight overhead, scanning the frozen soil. Briggs turned to Major Kimura, the Japanese cyber operations lead and one of the few people who still believed in analog backups. "You're sure the core systems are intact?" Briggs asked. "If the EMP shielding held, and the nuclear batteries are still sealed?" "Then yes," Kimura replied. "But we won't know until we crack it open." "Then let's not waste time." The team cut through the bunker's access doors with plasma torches. It took hours. Metal fused with age and atmospheric erosion resisted modern tools like it wanted to stay buried. But eventually, with a groan and a hiss of decompression, the inner vault opened. Lights flickered to life one by one, revealing the monstrous silhouette within. Project THOR stood silent, massive, weathered, and still awe-inspiring. The rail-assisted 203mm howitzer was mounted on a reinforced rotating platform, its long barrel extending deep into a hardened launch shaft angled toward the upper atmosphere. Dozens of robotic loaders, still folded like metal flowers, lined the shell delivery systems. "God," someone whispered. Briggs approached it slowly, as if disturbing a sleeping dragon. She placed her hand on the cold alloy plating. "You're not done yet, old girl." They powered up the control console. Screens blinked to life, sluggish at first, but soon stabilized. The core system booted up with an ancient chime. A soft, synthetic voice emerged from a hidden speaker. "THOR operational. 8,221 days since last firing sequence. Welcome back, General Briggs." The room went quiet. Even Kimura looked impressed. "AI interface is intact." "Impressive," she murmured. Briggs nodded. "It was designed to outlive everything, including politics." They immediately began diagnostics. The magnetic rails showed some degradation, but nothing critical. The AI auto-compensated with reduced stress calibration. The barrel was carbon-coated and deep-sleeved for orbital-grade heat dissipation. The loaders worked. The recoil housing was sealed. All they needed now was ammunition. Kimura pulled up the system specs. "We'll need to manufacture smart shells. Old design, but we have the specs. Hyperdense tungsten alloy cores, programmable trajectory fins, ablative heat shielding." "Can we do it in time?" Briggs asked. "Global armories can repurpose old warhead casings. Give us 48 hours. Briggs exhaled. "Make it 24. Back in orbit, aboard the Imperious Flame, Overlord Cornix received an alert. One of the Empire's atmospheric scout drones had been disabled. It wasn't destroyed, just cut off. The feed terminated midstream as it passed over the Eurasian steppe. A subordinate approached. "One of the Earth sites is emitting power signatures, my lord. Deep buried. Ground-based. Another bunker?" Cornix muttered, not bothering to look up from his chalice. "They're activating something." He smirked. "Let them. It's probably a missile silo. A final tantrum." The Admiral paused. "Shall we strike it, my lord?" Cornix shook his head. "No. We need a demonstration of our benevolence. Let them dream. The greater the hope, the deeper the despair when we crush it." Briggs stood on the observation platform as THOR's massive barrel raised slowly skyward. The internal gyros hummed. The targeting AI was synced with orbital telemetry gathered from Earth's remaining satellite systems and ground radar. THOR didn't need much. Just a time, a vector, and permission. It could calculate the rest. Target locked, the AI intoned. A 203mm shell, sleek, matte black, and inscribed with a white eagle, was fed into the chamber. The loaders clamped into place. Magnetic coils powered up, glowing with a faint blue hue. The Earth itself seemed to grow tense. First fire is symbolic, Kimura said. But if this works... No, Briggs interrupted. It's not symbolic. She walked up to the fire control station. With a calm, deliberate motion, she placed her palm on the activation pad. Target, alien vessel in low orbit, third echelon, bearing 027, Mark III, she said. Fire. A hum built into a screech. A flash of energy erupted from the barrel. Thunder cracked across the sky. The shell vanished into the atmosphere, a blur invisible to the naked eye. 22 seconds later, in orbit, one of the Empire's dreadnoughts detonated in a blossoming sphere of white fire. Shields peeled away like tissue. Hull plating ruptured. Secondary explosions rippled across its spine. It broke apart, falling in flaming pieces toward the Pacific. Briggs turned to Kimura. Symbolic enough for you? The Empire didn't respond immediately. They were too stunned, because for the first time in 1,000 years, someone on a primitive planet had hit them. And worse, had killed one of their ships. Not with plasma, not with antimatter, with a cannon, with artillery, with Earth's rage wrapped in tungsten and thunder. Firing line from the past. In the skies over Earth, silence gave way to fire. Overlord Cornix stood at the command dais aboard the Imperious Flame, unmoving, his glowing eyes fixed on the tactical display. The red silhouette of a dreadnought, Karaz Eternal, blinked once, then vanished. No warning, no impact trail from space. Just annihilation. Impossible, his voice trembled, fury buried beneath disbelief. The bridge crew fumbled through sensor logs. They found only a trace, high-velocity kinetic energy, originating from Earth's surface. No heat signature, no guidance trail, just raw, brutal physics. A rock hurled like a god's fist. Used a slug, murmured one of the tech officers. Cornix snapped around. A what? A solid projectile, my lord. Unguided. Pure mass and velocity. Primitive savagery, he spat. They broke through Imperial-grade shielding with a metal stick? Yes, my lord. A very fast metal stick. On Earth, the news hit like a lightning bolt. The Empire's destruction of Earth satellites had been almost routine. The loss of a human military base in Africa, erased by a precision orbital beam, had sparked panic. But now the people of Earth saw the explosion of an alien dreadnought live on filtered observatory feeds, broadcast by amateur astronomers and military radar techs. Billions watched the glowing bloom in the sky. One cannon, one shot, one kill, and hope roared to life. In Cheyenne Mountain, global military leaders erupted into argument, disbelief, and awe. But General Briggs wasn't interested in victory laps. She stood in the THOR Control Center in Kazakhstan, her eyes locked on a display showing live orbital telemetry. She wasn't done. They'll regroup, she said calmly. They always do, but now they know we can hurt them. Major Kimura adjusted the targeting algorithms. 2 new ship formations are moving to a high-altitude geosync orbit. They've gone cold. No emissions. They're testing our eyes, Briggs said, trying to figure out if we got lucky. They're about to learn, Kimura replied with a grin. THOR systems had fully recalibrated after its first firing. Earth's military network had integrated updated alien telemetry, calculating shield resonance patterns and movement delays. The AI adapted like a beast rediscovering its claws. Briggs gave the order. Fire 2 shots. Sequence them 10 seconds apart. Let's show them it wasn't luck. The howitzer roared again. From the barrel, 2 hypersonic shells screamed into the heavens. One veered west, one curved east, both set on pre-computed arcing paths. They punched through the sky and reached the void beyond. In orbit, The Empire fleet's high-altitude ships didn't even see the first shell. It struck beneath the shield harmonics and split the forward hangar in half. The second arrived as damage control drones scrambled, ripping through the spine of the escort cruiser, tearing it into debris. Explosions flared like twin novas. Now, there was no denying it. This wasn't chance. This was precision. Deliberate. Deadly. Cornix raged across the bridge, throwing his ceremonial data scepter against the console, sparks flying. "Ow!" he screamed. "How does a feral world possess such a weapon? Kinetics do not work against shields. This is against every known law of fleet warfare." "Correction, my lord," muttered his adjutant carefully. "Every imperial law." Cornix froze. The implication was clear. Earth didn't break the rules. It had never agreed to them. Earth's brass didn't waste time celebrating. Across the world, old installations were reactivated. In the Colorado Rockies, a second prototype was found, an unfinished twin of THOR dubbed Mjolnir. In India, ancient supergun blueprints were converted into railgun launchers. Russia repurposed defunct anti-meteor defenses into mass drivers. Factories 3D printed new shells by the hundreds. But only THOR had orbital kill confirmation, and it wasn't done. The AI's monotone voice reported, "Multiple orbital targets within range. Firing solution available." Briggs tapped the screen. "Select 4 ships. Fire when ready." This time, the Empire saw the shells coming. But by then it was too late. The slugs were traveling faster than sound in space. One dreadnought attempted evasive maneuvering, failing and crumbling mid-pivot. Another deployed point defense systems, but the shell pierced through the barrel of the main plasma cannon, turning it into a detonating funnel of superheated death. Cornix's voice echoed across the fleet's comms. "All vessels retreat to upper orbit. Evade range of the surface cannon." But even as they tried, THOR adjusted. Its predictive system accounted for orbital drift, gravity wells, even shield cycle patterns. Shell after shell tore through the heavens. From one howitzer, fired by one planet. In orbit, Cornix stared at the shrinking battle screen. 10 ships lost, dozens damaged, the entire fleet in disarray. His empire had conquered species who could manipulate time, who could fold light. But they had never faced a species so aggressive with Stone Age tools. Earth didn't build weapons to dazzle. Earth built weapons to kill. And THOR was a hammer in the hands of a vengeful god. Cornix turned to his war council, face pale. "They mock us with steel." "No, my lord," his adjutant said grimly. "They fight with it. The Empire falls one shell at a time." The command deck of the Imperious Flame was dim, lit only by warning lights and the flicker of distant explosions on the tactical display. Overlord Cornix stood silently, watching his once-proud fleet break formation in real time. One by one, the icons representing dreadnoughts, carriers, and cruisers blinked red, then disappeared entirely. It wasn't a battle. It was execution. "How many confirmed losses?" Cornix asked, his voice hoarse. 27 ships, my lord. Another 11 crippled. All within the howitzer's estimated range arc. He closed his eyes. From a single cannon. On a dirtball world. "Yes, my lord." There was no more smugness. No more talk of primitive relics. Just fear, cold and alien. The kind of fear only a wounded god can feel when it realizes the mortals have discovered fire. On Earth, General Elena Briggs stared at THOR's cooling barrel. The smoke was beginning to settle, but her mind was not. She knew what came next. The Empire wouldn't accept humiliation easily. Major Kimura approached, tablet in hand. "We intercepted their command signals. They're prepping a retaliation strike. Orbital class, tactical nuke. Possibly fusion-based. They'll try to glass the region. Can we intercept?" Briggs asked. Kimura hesitated. "Not in the sky." "But..." Briggs raised an eyebrow. "Say it. We can hit the weapon bay before they launch." She turned to the AI terminal. "THOR status. Barrel integrity at 84%. Rail coils holding. 5 smart shells remaining. Targeting available. Then we don't wait." She uploaded the strike coordinates. A precision shot into the belly of the Imperious Flame, the flagship the heart of the Empire's fleet. A risk, even for THOR. The ship was armored like a small moon. Shell 3. Target confirmed. Energy spike indicates weapon priming, the AI reported. Briggs didn't hesitate. Fire. The howitzer thundered again. Its recoil shook the Kazakh ground like an earthquake, rattling bones miles away. The shell punched through the atmosphere and vanished into the sky. In orbit, the Imperious Flame's plasma core warhead reached launch temperature. The ship's ventral bay opened, and then the shell arrived. It smashed through 5 decks of reinforced alloy, burst into the weapon's bay, and detonated its payload. Not a nuclear yield, but a kinetic implosion. The ship's internal munitions cooked off in a chain reaction that sent a bloom of superheated debris spiraling into the void. A molten column of fire split the ship in half. Cornix's last broadcast came in the form of a panicked, static-laced scream. Then silence. Global reaction was instant. Cheers erupted in bunkers, in living rooms, in command centers across every continent. Humanity had not only survived the first true interstellar war, it had won. With steel, with grit, with a gun older than the enemy could comprehend. Briggs stood on the platform beside THOR, the weapon now silent once more, resting like a titan that had completed its task. She looked to the sky, at the drifting wreckage of the Empire's once impervious fleet. She activated her comms. To all Earth Defense Forces, the flagship is down. The enemy is retreating. Her voice was clear, calm, absolute. Target all remaining vessels with ground-to-space artillery and missile systems. Fire at will. Let none return. Across the globe, other reactivated railguns and pulse mortars launched in a storm of finality. Old orbital defense platforms came online. Even converted mass driver satellites, crewed by Imperial standards, joined the barrage. The remnants of the Empire fleet scattered, some trying to flee to hyperspace, others limping toward the dark side of the moon. But they were picked off one by one, hounded by the rage of a planet that had been mocked. By the end of the day, nothing remained but orbital debris and silent fire trails across the sky. Days later, Briggs stood before the United Nations Assembly. For the first time in history, the chamber was unified. Every representative sat in rapt attention as she delivered her statement. We were told our weapons were outdated, that our way of war was primitive. But in our simplicity, there is perfection. In our old steel, there is strength. We build tools to endure. We build weapons to kill. And when someone threatens our world, we do not surrender. She let the silence settle. We reload. In orbit, autonomous drones began collecting the remains of Empire ships. Debris fields were mapped, weapons systems reverse-engineered. Earth science communities, once fractured by borders and politics, now worked as one. The recovered tech would be studied, but it was human engineering that had proven supreme. Project THOR was no longer a relic. It was a legend. Plans were drawn to replicate the system on a global scale. Mobile rail batteries, orbital coil guns, and kinetic saturation platforms were greenlit. Earth would never be caught unprepared again. At a memorial site in Kazakhstan, the original howitzer was preserved in place. A great steel arch was built over it, and carved into the entrance were 4 words in 30 languages. They laughed at first. Visitors came from all corners of the world to stand before the weapon that changed everything. Soldiers saluted it. Children stared in awe. And above it, Earth's new space fleet, armored, armed, and born from old fire, began its patrol of the stars. For the galaxy had learned a lesson. You can mock humanity. You can underestimate humanity. But when you do, you better not be within range.